What is up, guys? It's Andrea, and I'm gonna be showing you how I smooth my canvases. If you're like me, maybe you don't like a lot of tooth on your canvas. Maybe you like it a little bit smooth, or even like paper smooth, no tooth at all. So I'm gonna be showing you how I do that. And in order to do so, I have a freshly gessoed canvas right here, and I'm going to be showing you how I smooth it out with some sandpaper and, very important, a spray bottle with some water. Starting off with materials, pretty basic. I recommend using a spray bottle. You can also just use a bowl with water. Won't make too much of a difference. I just find that using a spray bottle a little bit easier. Next up is the sandpaper. Now, I prefer using something that's a little bit finer grit. This one's been through the ringer, so I'm going to be using this one today. It's a little bit thicker, not thicker, a little bit rougher than this one here. This is just in 1000 3M weather dry. This is a waterproof paper. I'm not totally sure where I got this. I think somebody gave this to me at some point. So this is what I'm going to be using today. But like I said, any sort of like fine grit sandpaper works great. So this is the canvas that I'm going to be working with. I already have a couple of layers of gesso on here as well as some sanding done. So it's not as textured as a regular canvas would be. Now this is how my canvas looks like originally, with no gesso, no sanding. As you can see, very textured and uneven somewhat. Now, in order to start the smoothing process, I begin by spraying down my canvas with some water. Then I go in and I use the sandpaper, moving in circular motions. Now, usually when you're sanding a gessoed canvas, what's going to happen is the sandpaper will obviously create dust, smoothing out the gesso. Now, the crucial part of this is the water. The water will take this dust and sort of create a paste, and in that will fill in all the sort of little texture, little holes that a canvas naturally has. Now, when I'm smoothing out my canvas, I'll usually do it between each layer of gesso that I add. So with one layer of gesso, I follow up with sanding. Then I add another layer of gesso, and then some more sanding. As you can see, this is what it looks like in that freshly sanded stage where it's still very wet. I let this dry completely before I add another layer of gesso, or if I'm already at those 2-3 layers that I usually do and I feel comfortable with it, I'll stop sanding. If you want it smoother, you can just keep sanding till your heart's desire. So this is what my canvases will typically look like. Not totally smoothed out, but there is a lot less texture. And as you can see, those like little spots where there's not really a lot of holes, that's what happens when you will continuously sand. Eventually there will be no holes, there will be no texture. Here's an example of what more continuous sanding would look like. This canvas on the top is pretty smooth. It could get smoother, but that was as far as I really wanted it to go. As you can see, there is very little texture left after so much sanding. Now, this is usually at the state that I leave it in, where it still has some texture, but not too much tooth that I have to fight against it. And that's it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week with a new one.